Good afternoon. Good afternoon. It's like when I go live, I all of a sudden have a thought. Like, okay, you still haven't fixed this light here. So that's that. But I'm giving you guys a little bit of time to come in. Really wanted to talk to you guys on today. My sincerest apologies. Hey, brother Robert, how are you? My sincerest apologies for Sunday. Sunday, I was not feeling my best, so I didn't come out. So I'm going to be here really briefly with you guys. So do me a favor. I need a huge favor, and that is that you share the video, you like the video, you engage with the video. Share, like, and engage. Share, like, and engage. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I am so excited to see you guys' faces and just excited to see you guys. It's always a blessing to see y'all. I miss y'all on Sunday. So before we get into it, Sunday, thank you, thank you. Yes, brother, I am. Sunday, I wasn't feeling so well. I ended up with a stomach bug, and I believe it was a stomach bug. So it started off the other day. I went out to eat, and not long after that, I started dealing with the worst heartburn. And I was thinking to myself, I typically don't deal with heartburn until it's coming up to that, lady season or what have you. And it's not that's not the case. So I was like, so what, I was like, where's this heartburn coming from? Nevertheless, I didn't put too much thought into it. And it graduated from heartburn to back pains and abdominal pains all in my stomach. But still, I didn't think much of anything to it. I was like, okay, maybe it's just something I ate. It's just something I ate, and that's that. It continued over until the next day, and it just intensified. And I just kept thinking, dang, that food just wasn't good. So long story short, by I think it was Saturday, I realized that it was a stomach bug because I woke up Saturday super sore, walking like an old woman. And I was like, why am I walking like this? I am feeling a whole lot better. I woke up Saturday thinking, why am I walking like this? And I was on the other side, like it was the pain. I mean, like the stomach upset was dying down, but I was really, really, really sore, extremely sore. And I'm like, this is the type of sore that you get when you got the flu. And I'm like, but I haven't had flu symptoms. I've had nothing but stomach, and then it hit me stomach flu. So yeah, started doing research online and realized that, hey, I had been likely battling with some type of stomach flu, and it can be transmitted through food. So the thing about it is, especially when you're coming up on the holidays, a lot of these companies, they force their employees to come to work, regardless of what the person says. The person say, hey, I don't feel good, but then their job is at risk, and so they come into work anyhow. And especially those who handle food, that's not a good thing because at some point they could easily contaminate the food, which is what I believe happened. And so consequently, I ended up sick. So I'm feeling a lot better on today. I wanted to come out and talk to you guys really, really briefly. And do me a favor, because these numbers are not looking pretty at all. Do me a favor, make sure that you are sharing this. Make sure that you are engaged in the video. Make sure that you like the video. If you have not subscribed, whether you are watching live or you're watching a replay, make sure that you hit the subscribe button down below. I want to talk to you about something that's really, really important this time of year, and that is being single around the holidays. That can be very difficult. As a matter of fact, statistics show that suicide tends to be very high around this time of year. And typically, I'll wait till later on in the year to kind of have this discussion with you guys, but I decided on today that it's better because we're 2 days away from Thanksgiving, and I've already had a couple of discussions with people who are just struggling with being single for the holidays. You missed Milo going in his butt, but I've already had some discussions with people who are struggling with being single for the holidays. People who are like, okay, how do I deal with this? And let me just put this out there to some of you who have families and stuff like that. You're single, but you have a family. That's not necessarily the same, but some other people have to struggle with. Some of us, for example, we're single and we don't necessarily have a family. And so you may be single and you may be crying about the fact that you're single. You may be sitting there saying, I wish I had a significant other to share my Thanksgiving with or what have you. But then there are some of us who say, man, listen, I'd be happy to have a family to share my Thanksgiving with, but that's just not my reality. And so I want you guys to understand that however bad you got it, there's somebody who has it even worse. But I want to speak to both of you on today, to help you to understand what it means to be single, or how to have a single successful holiday. Because again, a lot of people are suicidal this time of the year, and many people are even just start dealing with a whole lot of depression and stuff like that. I believe that this is the highest time for demon infestation. And that's because the enemy can just really just attack your mind with, oh, look at you, you ain't got nobody for the holidays. You're going to be eating alone if you eat at all. Don't make no sense for you to cook. Who going to come hang out with you? The enemy will begin to mess with your mind. So I want to start with this. One of the things that I remember doing when I was living in Florida, this was my first holiday being a single woman. Now, the crazy part was I had been married before then. I was going through a divorce. And before I went through the divorce, I was actually still, spending a lot of my holidays alone, because he would go travel to be with his family around the holidays. And so I would end up spending my holiday at home alone. So it was nothing new to me. But this particular time, it was just the awareness that I was a single woman and I was living in Florida. And for a moment, I didn't have any friends. I didn't have anybody that I could turn to. I didn't have anything or anyone when I was living in Florida. And I remember it was coming up to July 4th, I think it was. And when it was coming up to July 4th, and this is before I met my friend, my dear friend down there, but it was coming up on July 4th. And I started thinking to myself, because I want you to understand that the things that go on in your mind are not unusual. Most people deal with it. So it started coming up to July 4th, and I just remember thinking, like, it doesn't make sense for you to cook for July 4th because it's just going to be you. You don't know anybody. It makes no sense for you to order food. Yes, definitely. Let's get these numbers up. Y'all got to start sharing. If y'all want me to be coming out here, y'all engage, share, like and share. So I started thinking that, it doesn't make any sense for you to cook because it's not like somebody coming to your house, and a lot of that food is going to go to waste, because I ain't gonna lie to y'all, I can be a big waster when it comes to food. I will buy stuff, put it in my refrigerator, and it will sit in that refrigerator until it goes bad. I ain't gonna lie to you, because in that moment when I'm in the store, it look real good. Then when I get it home, I have no taste for it. And so, long story short, I agree. We'll talk about that in a second. But long story short, I went that July 4th without cooking anything for myself. Big regret. Because what ended up happening was, I remember seeing, going to Facebook and going to Instagram, mostly Facebook, because I don't think I was doing Instagram at that time. I think it was just Facebook. I remember going to Facebook and I'm scrolling, and all I see are barbecue plates and people cooking and, families coming together and all of that stuff. And it was the hardest holiday that I've ever had to live through by myself, because the reality set in that I was going through a divorce and I didn't have anybody. And I was just sitting there, and while everybody else was out and, just enjoying barbecue and baked beans and stuff like that, I was at home, trying to decide whether I wanted to cook some noodles or what I wanted to eat or what have you. After that, I made a commitment to myself to never do that again, to never do that to myself again. So that following Thanksgiving, by this time, I think I met my friend. I had prayed and I asked the Lord, I said, Lord, I don't need a whole lot of people in my life. I just need one good friend. And I ended up meeting a lady down in Florida, and we became really good friends. But that Thanksgiving, I was going to be spending it alone because she was traveling and all that other stuff. And one thing about me, I never want to infuse myself into somebody's, what they typically do. It just doesn't feel right to be that odd friend that has nowhere to go and they just invited you over just because you ain't got nobody. And so you just sitting there and they like, you want something? No, man, I don't like being that person. So long story short, she did offer for me to come, and I said no. But that Thanksgiving, I had made the commitment to myself that I'm not going to sit here and just look at everybody else eating. I'm gonna cook for myself. And so I made it a point to get up and cook myself some chicken dressing and all of the stuff that we typically eat. And that ended up being a very good Thanksgiving because I didn't spend that Thanksgiving feeling sorry for myself. It ended up being a very good Thanksgiving. So I ended up, when I scrolled online, I'm looking like, oh, her dressing looks good, but I bet mine better. I went through that or what have you. So I'm saying all that to say that when it comes to the holiday season, you have to be very intentional about making sure that emotionally, mentally, spiritually, that you are in a good place, that you don't give in to the enemy. Because I believe that the enemy uses certain spirits around this time to really just go out there, spirits of suicide and death, to go out there and begin to bombard the minds of so many people. He comes out and he says, hey, you're alone. Nobody cares for you. Everybody's just outside. Everybody's satisfied. Everybody's enjoying their families or what have you. And I know somebody said that COVID has made it difficult, and I completely agree. COVID has made it very difficult for families to come together. It really has made, and so some people are going to be spending the Thanksgiving alone, or this Thanksgiving alone, who don't normally spend their Thanksgiving alone. But I think I can be safe enough to say that for the most part, many of them have people in their homes. So they may have their own children. If they got nobody else, they got their children. If they have nobody else, they have, maybe their friend or what have you. They got somebody in their house. They got somebody there that they can celebrate with. But I want y'all to be aware of the fact there are some people out there who are like me who don't have kids and who live in a town who don't have family in that town. But I'm completely fine because I've learned how to navigate. And I got a sister in Christ who's coming over for Thanksgiving anyhow. I have another sister in Christ who typically comes over for Thanksgiving, but she just getting back in the country, so she may swing through. But the thing about it is, there are some people out there who are like me or who are like I used to be, who has zero, like nobody coming to their house for Thanksgiving, nobody checking up on them for Thanksgiving. Everybody just feels like they are fine or what have you. Thanksgiving killing or yeah. Well, here's the thing about Thanksgiving. Some people kind of battle with whether it is celebrated or not, and Thanksgiving is not necessarily pagan. It's not the celebration of a deity. Thanksgiving is more so a celebration of the pilgrims and the Indians coming together. We know what the pilgrims did, but it's not a celebration of what they did. People typically celebrate Thanksgiving. I think most Black folks celebrate it just for the food, and so it doesn't have any meaning behind it. It's just a tradition that people do. So when you celebrate something, for me, for example, I don't celebrate Halloween. And I don't celebrate Halloween because the way that you have to celebrate Halloween is to perform the same things that they did, like dressing up in costumes. If you do the history of Halloween, you can get my book, Top Heavy, Bottom Bed, and I talk about that. What they used to do, the monks, how they would dress up for Halloween, or what have you. So they do the things for Halloween. But there's nothing wrong with saying, okay, on this particular day, I want to eat because I don't want to, watch everybody else eat and I can't eat or what have you. So to each his own. I don't think people are going to hell for saying, for celebrating Halloween. I mean, for celebrating Halloween. I don't think they're going to hell for celebrating it. I don't think they're going to hell for celebrating Christmas. The question is, are you celebrating what's behind it? And you got to celebrate everything in knowledge, meaning if I'm going to participate in something, I need to at minimum know the history behind it and ask myself, do I want to put my hands on that? So there's a whole teaching I can give on that, but we're not going to go there. The thing about I want to deal with today is I want to prevent depression and suicide from taking place. Though that's my goal. That's what I'm here for today, because it may not necessarily be for you, and I don't want to turn this into a holiday, thing. I want to really reach out to the people out there who may be dealing with depression. I want to really reach out there to the people who may have those thoughts of suicide. Because believe it or not, We got 54 people on here right now, which is a really low number. Typically, you have a lot more people on here, but I digress. But of those 54, believe it or not, there may be one person who's lurking, who's not saying anything, who's actually considering taking their life. And so if we go in the direction about pagan holidays and stuff like that, we let that person die so we can sit here and debate. And that's not what I'm here for. So the thing about it is, what I'm saying to you guys is this. If you happen to be struggling during this holiday season, if you find yourself thinking about, I'm alone and I don't have anybody, I want to help you. I want to give you some of the things that I have done and some things that I typically do. So I have this phrase that I typically use, and I've been using it for a while now. That has helped me to navigate through this event that we call life. And that phrase is, I'm just passing through. I'm just passing through. So anytime I find myself in a season, and that season is not necessarily favorable, and that season doesn't necessarily feel good to me, and it's something that I don't want to live in for the rest of my life, I usually tell myself, well, Tiffany, you're just passing through. Or I will say, I'm just passing through. So it's basically me. What I'm saying is, thank you, Sister Catherine. But basically, what I'm saying to myself is, I'm encouraging myself to let me know that this is not your life. This is not how your life is going to be. This is just a season. This is just a space and time. You're here for a reason. Your assignment is to get the revelation out of this season, get the wisdom out of this season, because God allows you to go through this so that you can help somebody else who's going to go through it. I want y'all to understand that God allows you to go through just so that you can turn around and you can help somebody else who's going through. That's what he does. And so sometimes, like if you're spending this holiday alone, God may be thinking about somebody who next year is going to consider killing themselves. So you may spend this holiday alone and you may be getting through it. And God is Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end. He already know that Keisha next year is, the enemy is going to come. God already knows what the enemy has set in place. So God will allow you sometimes to just kind of go through or grow through some things because God wants you to get past it. He wants you to find a formula. He wants you to find a solution to it. He wants you, because you're strong enough, he's giving you the strength. He wants you to find a way to navigate through all of those emotions and turn it into an amazing Thanksgiving. And then so next year when somebody else is going through, you're going to come in contact with that person. He's so divine like that. You'll come in contact with that person and you say, so what are you doing for Thanksgiving? And she just says, and it can be a coworker of yours, and she says, oh, I don't have any plans for Thanksgiving, just me and my dog Rufus. And right then and there, God's going to give you the opportunity to minister to her. Right then and there, God's going to place it in your heart. And you'll say, oh, girl, I did that last year. Last year, I spent Thanksgiving and Christmas alone, and I bought in the New Year's by myself. And you know something? God has been faithful. God has been great. God has been good to me throughout it all. So what I did was I made it a point to cook for myself. What I did was I made it a point, to just cheer myself up and to do something really kind and something really fun and something really nice for myself. And I ended up having a pretty amazing holiday. And she's like, oh, okay. Because that may be her first Thanksgiving alone. That may be her first time alone. And so for her, when she's hearing that, that lets her know that I don't have to spend the holiday thinking that my life is over. Look at what your life has come to. I don't have to spend the holiday going through suicidal thoughts and depression. I don't have to spend the holiday just laying up in my bed feeling sorry for myself. I don't have to spend my holiday like that. So again, I wanted you guys to know that everything that God allows you to go through, he allows you to grow through. Anything that God does, he's doing that because he's not just looking at you. You're strong enough. You'll get past it. But there's somebody else in the future that God's looking at. And God is saying, no, I don't want her standing before me before her time. I don't want her to take her life and end up having to come before me because she felt some type of way. And so regardless of what we can debate about holidays or what have you, you got to understand some people have been doing this for years. They've been doing this the entirety of their lives. So just one discussion is not going to, make people say, okay, well, I'm not going to celebrate it. No, most people on here are going to celebrate the holidays. Most people on here are going to celebrate it in some way, some fashion or form, meaning they're going to eat. Because some people, for example, don't celebrate at all. Yet, nevertheless, they're going to eat. Excuse me. They're going to eat. They're going to get a call from their moms, their stepmoms, or somebody, or a friend, or what have you, and say, "Girl, what you doing? I cooked some dressing. I cooked some turkey. I cooked some ham. I cooked some yams. I cooked sweet potato. I cooked pecan pie. Girl, I made a cake. Are you coming over?" And most people are gonna sit there. They ain't gonna be like, "Well, yeah, but I just don't do that." No, they gonna get up and go. Because what they gonna say in their head, even if they don't celebrate it, "I'm not celebrating that, but dang it, I want to play." I want to come out and I want to eat or what have you. So the thing about it is, I just want you guys to know that, one, if we can deal with this on a spiritual plane, spiritually speaking, I do believe that the enemy utilizes this time to send out a lot of spirits. I'm learning a lot more about spiritual warfare than I care to learn. I'll tell you, for example, the month of October was a very difficult month for me. A lot of people don't know that, but the month of October, for the first few days in October, well, no, at first I was okay. And then all of a sudden, something triggered a memory and said, your mother died on October 11th. And I was like, okay, it was like October 1st or October 2nd when that thought came in. And I was like, you know what? And so I made it a point. But nevertheless, I started dealing with some other issues. And I went through one of those moments where, I was dealing with some stuff and I just really wished I could call my mom, because it was the type of stuff that typically I would talk to my mom about. It was the type of stuff that typically I can call my mom and say, "Mom, this is what happened, and that's what happened, and this is what I'm feeling." And my mom was always the type of person that, she would say, "Oh, you know what? That's just crazy. But how you doing, baby? What have you?" And I found myself wanting to talk to her, but then I had to wrestle that off and say, okay, you're going to have to take that conversation that you typically have with your mother, and you're going to have to give that conversation to God. So I made it a point. I said, you know what? I'm going to stay busy. And I don't want to spend, I'll be praying for your mom, Sister Letitia. I'll be praying for her. Hopefully she's fine. But I said, I don't want to spend that day dealing with what I've heard Apostle Ivory Hawkins call anniversary spirits. So I was like, okay, I don't want no anniversary spirits on that day. I'm binding that stuff up. I'm taking authority over it. I don't want to deal with it. But for those of you who still have loved ones, it's very easy, to just really think, well, you just don't think about it. No, it doesn't work like that. It's you intentionally try not to think about certain things, but those things will invade. So what ended up happening was, literally, I think it was the day before, I literally had forgotten. I didn't even know what the date was. I was just moving and everything was going good. And then I ended up getting a message from a woman who said, "Hey, Tiffany, I'm going through it. My mother died on this day last year." And I'm just like, and I looked at the date, and I think it was October 10th, the day before my mother's death. And I said, oh, crap. I had forgot. That's when it hit me. Your mama died. Yes. Your mama, tomorrow's the anniversary of your mother's death. And I was like, dang it. I was happy I could help her out, but it put me in remembrance of it. And so the next day, of course, the memory like, pow, it hit me. And I'm sitting there fighting it off like, no, I'm going to stay busy. I'm not going to spend it. But like I said, I was dealing with some other issues as well. And so I had to spend that day in quite a bit of prayer. Consequently, later that day, I ended up feeling really heartbroken. Because like I said, I was dealing with some other stuff. And then I started thinking about my mom, like, oh, I wish I could talk to my mom. And then the enemy brought it to my mind, like, yeah, this is the same day that your mother passed away. This is the day that your mother passed away some years ago, what have you. So this type of stuff is real. That type of stuff is real. So I'm just trying to help you to understand that spiritually speaking, the enemy will go out his way to get you into depression. He'll go out of his way to get you to feeling sorry for yourself. He'll go out of his way to really just, because for me, I'm just like, it always seems to be a consequence on the times where an event like that is coming up, that things just start, people start acting funny, things start acting weird, going weird, and all that other stuff. All of that is just warfare. And so you're going to have to be very intentional this time of year about praying for yourself, about making sure that you don't enter into depression, about making sure that you are not that person that is going to entertain spiritual warfare or entertain ungodly thoughts. You have to be the person that get up and say, not me. So I'm telling you that's because we got 2 days before Thanksgiving. You have to be the one that says, I'm not doing that this year. You gotta make the decision. I'm not doing that this year. I did way better for my mother's anniversary, the death of her. I did way better than I thought I would. And I had some moments on that day, but I did way better than I thought I would. But that's because I made a decision. I want y'all to hear me. The making a decision is a powerful thing. Um, I made a decision that, hey, no, I'm not about to, do that because I'm not about to celebrate my mother's death. And my mother died October 11th. Her birthday was October 26th. So the month of October was a pretty difficult month for me. I'm saying all of that to say that I don't want you guys to allow yourself to feel depressed or feel down. Because what I went through in October, I wouldn't wish on anybody. What I went through in the month of October, I would not want anybody to go through because at the end of the day, that's not the will of God. That's not the heart of God. God wants you to be happy. He wants you to enjoy every single day. So make it a point to cook for yourself. If you feel like seeing other people eating is going to bother you, make it a point to cook for yourself. If you feel like you don't have any money to cook for yourself, find some loved ones, some friends that may be cooking, and just get over yourself. Don't do like I've done. I sat back there and been that person that I was like, no, I'm not going to nobody's house because I don't like being weird. I don't want to be that person just sitting there at the table and they're like, Tiffany, you can get up and get some more if you want to. No, I'm full. I'm good. I just don't. I don't like being that person. But I think that could be pride. So don't allow yourself to get caught up in those types of feelings. I go through the same thing. My mom passed 2 years in February. I try to avoid those feelings, but it's hard. It really is. And every time it's like, that's why I said it's become more real to me than anything, because it's like, for me, I've learned every time I try to avoid it, it's like the last year, 2019, October 11th was a horrible day. Oh my gosh. I kept saying to myself, I cannot go through this every year. I cannot go through this every year. But it is such a wrestling match. So for those of you who have your loved ones, make it a point to love on them. Make it a point to communicate with them. Make it a point to, just reach out. Make it a point to spend time with them. Don't take it for granted. It's so easy to think that, because just like I thought, like everybody else, I just thought my mother was going to be around until I was old. I thought my mother was going to be 80 or 90. I'll be honest with y'all. I thought that I used to actually sit there and kind of be concerned about how, and it did bring a little level of guilt behind it, because I used to actually sit there and think about, man, mama ain't got nothing going. Like for her, when she turned 80 or 90 and she gonna need somebody to take care of her, and she a little bit on the difficult side, and I'm like, I'll be, in my 60s and stuff like that by that time, and she'll be up, I just imagined my mom being in a wheelchair and being mean. That's how I imagined her. I imagined her, I'm in my house with my children and my husband, and there go my mom in the other room, and she's a sweetheart. But she would have her mean moments, and then she just go into one of her little moments. And I used to sit there and be like, okay. And I talked to my sister about it. I'm like, man, we're gonna have to figure something out, because yeah, shoot, I can't even imagine that. So I could be a little bit futuristic in my thinking, and that's called worrying. Whenever you attach it to, events or something like that. So that was something that I actually did think about. This year seems to be hitting me like a ton of bricks. I did as well. I am in my 40s and thought my mom would be here with me forever. I was 39, I believe, when she passed. And yes, I want y'all to hear me on that. I saw this meme some years ago, and the meme talked about the hardest years of a person's life are typically their 40s, because it's in the 40s when a person starts losing their parents or what have you. And I'll be honest with you, that is true. That the 40s tend to be a very difficult time in a person's life. So if you know somebody in their 40s, man, love on them folks. Don't be sitting there acting, if you know somebody in their 40s, understand that is a very difficult season because during that season, the body's starting to make a lot of transitions. Your body starts to your metabolism is going down. You got family members dying. You have a whole lot of things going in your 40s. And if you happen to be a mother, your children are probably teenagers. So on top of all that, your children are probably at a stage where they're starting to rebel. They acting crazy. You got parents that are fighting for their lives and all of that stuff. And then your body is doing all of these crazy things. When you in your 20s and 30s, it's so easy to look at folks and just swear, oh man, you have no idea. When you hit your 40s, that is a very difficult time. That is a very difficult time. So you have to be very mindful of that and prepare. If you in your 20s and 30s, prepare for your 40s. I'm trying to tell you, prepare yourself. Get in good health. I wish that when I was in my 20s and 30s that I wasn't eating Big Macs like I had no sense. I wish I had been jogging. I was hyperactive. Right. But I was hyperactive. But I wasn't an exerciser. What have you. But I wish I had done something. Right. And that's the same thing for me. My mom, she saw me married, but she never saw me marry the right one. And she never got a chance to see grandchildren or anything like that. And so a lot of that stuff the enemy uses that to really plague a person. And that's the reason why in a person's 40s, they can be emotional. They can be a lot of different things because there's a lot that takes place in the 40s. Because when you hit your 40s, your parents are hitting their 60s in most cases. They're hitting their 60s or their 70s. And when they hit those 60s or their 70s, a lot of times things start breaking loose in their life. Things start, like their health starts falling apart. Many of them don't live long, and then some of them are not. A dear friend of mine, she is in her 30s and she just lost her dad. And I'm like, oh man, I don't even want to wish that pain on anybody. And so I'm trying to make sure that I'm there for her. Nevertheless, that's the reality of it all. So we go through some very difficult seasons. Yes, your bones start paying for it. Like for me, not only do your bones start paying for it, you start, honestly, in your 40s, you start seeing transitions in your face. Because a lot of times I can look at my face and I'm like, man, this is what I be doing. Well, hold up. But I be doing this right here. Like I got extra cheeks and stuff. In your 40s, you be sitting up there wanting to fix stuff. Okay, I ain't gonna have no sagging eyes. Oh, in your 40s, you go to talking about things that you never thought you'd talk about. I may have to do a little bit of surgery, because I ain't trying to go out like this. I remember my mother, after having chemo kind of ages you a whole lot. And I remember my mother sitting there and she was like looking at her face and I couldn't understand. She was at my house and this was not even a year before she passed. But I remember her just constantly doing this. She was like, I got to get some surgery. And I didn't even understand what she was going through, but she was basically saying, I don't recognize the person in the mirror anymore. This doesn't look like me. And believe it or not, thank you, Sister Veronica. Thank you. But believe it or not, I go through those times. I'd be like, man, the heck? I got some videos that I won't even watch because I'd be like, I look busted on that video. I was going through some stuff. I got one video on here that I don't know which video it is. It's like the still shot of it. I look crazy as heck. I said, and the crazy part is anytime I see it, I remember that I was actually going through something. Like in life, you have markers. So there are times in your life where an event is marked. And that time in my life, I think I was in need of deliverance. Thank y'all. Thank y'all. Y'all blessing me. But I want y'all to just be mindful of the fact that people in their 40s, yeah, we go through it. We go through it because, like I said, we're going through some body changes. Some women hit menopause in their 40s. Thankfully, I haven't hit it yet. I'm thinking mine's going to come close to the 50s, right? But people are going through hormonal changes and they're going through a whole lot of different changes when they hit their 40s or what have you. And then on top of that, you get calls saying, this parent in the hospital, that parent in the hospital. Not only that, you get calls because it's like the older you get, the more people who pass. Because the people that they're on the people that the most are close to your age or older. I mean, some younger people, but I just got a call the other day that a cousin of mine passed. So it's like you're always getting calls that somebody done died, and it makes you more cognizant and aware of death. It really does. It makes you more cognizant of the fact that, hey, I'm just here for a short time. It makes you cognizant of that. It makes you realize that, hey, I'm not going to be here, forever. Because when you're 20, you feel like you're going to be here forever. When you're 20, you feel invincible. When you're 20, you feel, like you're on top of the world. When you hit 40, you start realizing that, hey, I probably got a good another 40, 60 years left in me. God willing. God willing. But yeah, I wanted to just come out and encourage you guys on today to just be mindful of the holiday season, that you're not allowing yourself to feel down and out. I made a decision a long time ago, and I haven't had a depressing holiday since then. I made a decision that I wasn't going to be a victim, and that's that. I wasn't going to be a victim, that I'm going to enjoy my holidays, whether I enjoy it alone or with somebody. How do you prepare? How do we prepare in our 20s? Set yourself up financially. Make sure you go to school, heal all your debt, overcome your lust. The lust of the 20s are amazing. The lust of the 20s are, I want everybody to like me. I want to stand in front of crowds. I want everybody to know who I am. I want everybody to like me, or what have you. But all of those decisions you make in your 20s, you end up having to pay for in your 30s and your 40s. It's like you're financing, I'm going to say it this way, you're financing the opinions of people. You will go out there and buy all this stuff just so people can like you. And you'll spend a lot of that time trying to impress folks who don't like you, folks who are temporary in your life. You'll spend a lot of that time trying to impress them. And then you put yourself in debt, getting all those cars, doing all that crazy stuff, trying to get with the finest man, even though he a narcissist. You'll spend all that time trying to impress folks, and then turn around when you hit your 30s and stuff, when life starts getting more real. You're like, oh my gosh, I got to pay this off. I got this credit card and I got that credit card. And then I got this, and I got a child by the narcissistic guy. And I got all of these things going. The lesson you catch, you finally settle in your 20s, because the lesson that's sitting there in your face the whole time. But the lesson that you finally settle in your late 30s and 40s is, and I hate to say it, to heck with these people. When you start selling into that, like, I got to really make sure that financially, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, I'm in a good space. And I'm in a good space. I have to make sure I can't be running around trying to impress everybody at my own expense. I could kill myself trying to do all that. When you hit your 40s, you start looking at your bills. Like in your 20s, you'll just get a bill in the mail and be like, and I got this book by Michonne Evans. I think it's an amazing book. But you'll be just like this. You'll get your bill in your 20s, you like this. In your 40s, you like this. How much I got in this account? We're going to pay this bill. In your 40s, you come to realize this stuff is serious. I don't want to put myself in any debt. So I'll tell you, if somebody could have talked, if I could speak to 20-year-old Tiffany, what I would have told her is stop buying all those sunglasses, stop buying all that hair, stop buying all them clothes and them shoes, stop putting all that makeup on, stop doing all that. Girl, go out there and exercise some. Get yourself up and get back into school. Girl, I need you to go and get close to God with all of your might. Chase him with your everything. That man ain't no good for you. Stop worrying about looking good and, wanting to have the finest man on your arm. Girl, them girls don't even like you. Why you trying to impress them? God gonna deliver you from them at some point in your life. So just let them go on about their lives. That's what I would have told the 20-year-old Tiffany. I would have told the 20-year-old Tiffany, hey, Tiff, you know what? Don't try to impress them. Be you. Be you. The theme of my life has been just let me be me. Be you. Be who you are. Don't change who you are. Get up here. Go to school. And do everything that you got to do. The 18-year-old Tiffany, I would have said, don't put that tattoo on your arm. The young girl would have said, why you making that girl enemies your enemies? Why you doing all that dumb stuff? I would have invested in my 20s. In my 20s, I would have sat up there. I would have went my tail to college. I would have paid off my college debt. That would have been my first thing. I would have been knocked that thing out. I would have been trying to invest. I would have forsaken, or forsaken, whatever which word. I would have just forsake fun, just so that I can set myself up for my 30s and 40s. I would have set myself up so that when I got into my 40s, I could have been just I'm talking about money sitting in the account, properties out there owned, and I'm in a calm place mentally, emotionally and spiritually. No, I spent a great deal of my 40s a great deal of my 30s having to undo what I did in my 20s. That's what the 30s are. The 30s are a lot of you trying to undo stuff that you did in your 20s. You trying to pay off credit card debt. You trying to pay off student loans. You sitting up over there. Now you getting divorce papers in the mail. You spend a lot of your 20s trying to a lot of your 30s trying to undo what you did in your 20s. So in your 20s, get that stuff together. Get yourself a mentor in your 20s. Get somebody that can talk to you and show you, the ropes and say, hey, here's the mistakes that I've made. And make sure that you're teachable. Make sure you're teachable. Make some investments. So by the time you hit 40, you can chill. I'm over here in my 40s doing what I should have did in my 20s. Right? People tell you to party in your younger years, man, that ain't even necessary. It's not even necessary. I would, if I could go back and change the hands of time, I would have done everything that I'm doing now in my 20s. I wouldn't have been worried about it. I don't know if y'all ready to hear that. I wouldn't have been worried about no man in my 20s. If I had known what I know now, I wouldn't have been thinking about no man in my 20s. No. I would have told myself I wasn't ready. I would have told myself, let me go to school. I would have told myself, because I already knew what I wouldn't take and what I couldn't take. I would have told myself, I don't need no man right now. In my 20s, I would have sat up there. I would have took my butt to school. I would have got the education that I needed. I would have did all. I would have been built by the time I was 25. I would have bought my first property. I would have been starting my business. If I had known then what I know now, I would have took care of all of that other stuff. I would have made sure that I was financially stable. The big lesson I got, and I've shared this with you guys before, was when I was getting ready to go. I got what everybody chasing after, got the man and all that other stuff. But then I realized, we on the phone arguing. We're having our last argument. I'm in a 3,500 square foot home, 2-story home that I can barely afford with him. And I know I can't afford it without him. And so I'm on the phone with the guy. We arguing, and he says, oh, don't worry, you're going to lose everything because I ain't paying for nothing. I had a car note that I couldn't pay for. Bought the car, was just less than a year old when I bought it. Had less than 17,000 miles on it. Brand new car, brand new home, debt coming out my tail, a 500 credit score. And when he said that, I got a lesson in. He said, I ain't gonna help you pay for nothing. He said, you on your own. And that's when I woke up. That's when that dream, the American dream, became a nightmare. That's when my eyes opened and I was like, oh crap. Like, I'm about to be in this by myself. How am I going to pay his car note? How am I going to pay the insurance? How am I going to pay this mortgage? How am I going to... And I did the one thing that I knew how to do. And whenever I went through moments of high stress, I would just shut down. I just shut down. I stopped doing anything. I just shut myself down emotionally. I didn't even think about it. I didn't even try to pay the mortgage. I just sat there, went to work, and I just let it all happen. Next thing you know, the house was foreclosed on. I got out the house, moved into my mom's house, and next thing you know, the repo guy was out there for the car. I just shut down. Because I had put all of my eggs into one basket, which is what the old people tell you not to do. I put all my eggs in one basket. Now that I thank God for that event, because it woke me up. It made me realize, don't you put your trust in a man like that. And I tell that to younger people, and this is what the old people used to tell to me. And I was like most 20-year-olds. I didn't listen to that. I was just thinking, yeah, that's them guys from your generation. Guys from my generation. No, can I say something? They don't get better generation by generation. It's like, I feel sorry for y'all. Because I'm already struggling with the 40-year-olds. I can imagine what y'all got out there. That's why the 20-year-olds are crossing over and taking our 40-year-olds. The 20-year-olds coming over there, he look a little seasoned. I'm like, child, go back over there into your generation to get your man. Stop, because we don't take all the 40-year-olds, and now we over here looking at We got to look at the 65-year-olds and be like, he does look a little bit young. Either that, want to lead the country. Lead the country. Because all the 20-year-olds, the 20-year-olds coming over into our generation. Honestly, they coming over into our generation. And the 40-year-old guys have gotten a little bit cocky because they realize I'm settled and I'm in a nice job. And all the 20-year-olds are like looking at me. And us 40-year-old women are like, yeah, hello? Hello? So that neither here nor there. We just sitting there trying to figure stuff out. Like, I'm in your generation, bro. I'm in your generation. So what you want to do, yeah, I do. I feel sorry for y'all generation. I really do. And I'm not saying that because man, even when I go to TikTok, I'm like, I honestly see how the Antichrist is coming. I can literally sit here and say, at one point, I was reading the Bible and I used to study, just studying the Bible, and I hear about the Antichrist, and man, I already see him setting the stage. And I think it's gonna be a lot sooner. It's gonna be a lot sooner than what we think. A lot. When I say a lot sooner, it's gonna be a lot. I see this. Everything is advanced. Everything is moving on just moving so fast. It's moving so fast. Right now, if I go to TikTok and preach the gospel, they will attack me. This is Gen Z. TikTok is Gen Z. If I go to TikTok and I preach the gospel, I'm gonna get attacked. We in a whole other generation. If I go to TikTok and say, hey y'all, Gen Z, oh my gosh, I don't know what to say. Because I ain't gonna say that we at I got the best generation, but I'm starting to think we are looking at the last of the Mohicans. I'm looking like, okay, we got some good 30-year-olds out there, but you see like a dissipation. You see a lot of things beginning to fade away, and you like, yeah, what's happening? So, I would say, yeah, Gen Z, yeah, y'all gonna have, if you in Gen Z, you're gonna have to really have prayer life, like seriously, because the norm and what's accepted and what people are calling good it goes against the Bible, it goes against the word, and I do believe God is raising up some Gen Zs, some people in that generation who are going to be voices and stuff like that. But my God, my God, my God, my God, I'm grateful. I'm grateful. I think as you get older, you become more grateful at the idea that one day I'm gonna go be with the Lord. Because man, one day I'm gonna go be with the Lord. I ain't gonna have to deal with all this stuff here. So many unbelievers, a lot more ancestral worship. Yep. You have a lot of people that are trying to return to especially African Americans want to return to their roots. And I've been trying to warn people, like, you don't want to return to where God delivered you from. And if I preach this thing, I want y'all to hear me when I say this, because I can always tell when a woman is walking toward witchcraft. You can always tell. If I call it out, if you fit the description, that doesn't mean that it's you. But you can always tell when a woman's walking toward witchcraft. You can always tell, because you start seeing different things, like more Afrocentric witchcraft. You can always tell because she becomes more and more Afrocentric. Next thing you know, she's sitting up there. She started watching. What is her name? Ilyana Benzon. She become more natural in everything that she does to herself. Next thing you know, she's wearing a lot of African stuff. She start slow. You can watch the progression. You can watch the progression into witchcraft. And I don't want to turn this into a teaching on witchcraft, but what people don't realize about witchcraft is this. How about this? Okay. How about this? Because we're doing the holiday thing, I want to just give you guys a challenge. I'm going to tell you a secret about witchcraft. I'm going to tell you what the enemy is doing with witchcraft, but I'm not going to do it in this video. Okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to close this video out and I'm going to open another one. All right? I'm going to need y'all. I'm going to come back on in 30 seconds. I'm going to come out and I'm going to, yes, she's in the witchcraft. I'm going to come out and I'm going to shut it down. Because this, I don't want this to be a video that goes in that direction when we're talking about something else. But I'm going to come back and I'm going to tell you the little secret about witchcraft and how witchcraft works. Sorry, guys. Okay. But I'm going to tell you a little secret about witchcraft and how witchcraft works. So make it a commitment. I see 84 people on here. I know some of you, I know most of you are going to come back, and I know some of you, you're already struggling with staying on. But come back, because I'm about to tell you the secrets about, I'm going to tell you a little thing about witchcraft. All right. I'll be right back. I'm coming right back.